myself. Um, Secondly, I think I would say I'm quite a good listener. I think I understand. I like to think I understand about listening. Years ago, some years ago, I spent a few years helping with the Samaritans,
Oh,
which I found very probably for 5 or 6 years, and as well as listening on the phone. And I remember I used to go there one night a week to sleep there, and because people phone obviously through the night as well. So it was an interesting thing that I did there. And yeah, you hear lots of troubling situations, obviously. But the training, I remember, went on for like twice a week, I think, for a couple of hours in an evening for about 4 weeks. And it was really just all about listening, the art of listening properly. Because when you think of it, when we are in a conversation, most of the time, all of us, and I include myself, we're kind of listening and then we're thinking what we're going to say in response, or we're more focused on what's going on in our own mind than in what we're listening to. So, and I guess since I used to do that work, I've probably forgotten a lot of it. But I do like to think that if I'm listening to somebody, I want to hear what they say. And one of the hardest things, about listening,
hmm.
one of the hardest things is being prepared to leave those gaps. I think I'm someone who I don't like to, in a conversation with somebody or with a group of people, I think if there's a sudden silence, I sort of want to say something. And I don't always control that. I tend to, and just sometimes you say something that you think, why the hell did I say that? But no, I think I try to remember that training from years ago, and I do try to listen. What one example, perhaps, of well, not so much listening, but I can perhaps another thing I can get a bit impatient. Not normally. I think I'm very slow to react to things, but obviously, if you're busy, it's a bit different. And a case in point this morning. I had made a phone call. It was to do with the local authority, the local council,
Yeah.
to do with postal voting or not, etc., etc. And anyway, I followed what they said, and I wanted to amend some information. It didn't work, so I noticed on the letter there was a help number,
Mm.
and so I phoned it. And although it came up on my phone, West Sussex County Council, I kept saying hello, but no one was there. And I have to say, I got very impatient because I was busy. I had to go and do other things. And I made a classic mistake. It was totally silent. And I'm not normally given to too much profanity, too much
Mm.
cursing and swearing. It's never
Yeah.
been, I don't never do that much. An exception these days is when I'm recording my songs, my music. If I keep making the same mistake on an instrument, I have been known to throw in a few bombs, shall we say, into the music, although I don't leave it on the recording. But
No.
anyway, I got really uptight this morning, so I did it again, and the same thing happened. And I did utter some words, which it's, okay, those around me at home, that they might get used to me, certainly with the music, if they hear me dropping a bomb sometimes. But I got cross this morning, and I was cursing a bit and swearing a bit, which is, as I say, not really like me. That I wouldn't say that's something I do very often. Anyway, I thought. Anyway, I thought I'll give this up for now. Finished the call, and then the phone rang, and of course, where was it? It was West Sussex. And this very nice lady said, "Oh, you telephoned," and I said, "Oh, yes, I did." And as I explained why, I was kind of cringing inside because she said at the beginning, said, "Oh, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, obviously." So,
Oh,
and of course, I said to her, I said, I interrupted myself and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I said, "You probably heard me." And she said, "Don't worry, you made me smile." So it made me feel a bit better. But it just reminded me that sometimes, we think the phone is dead or they put you on hold, and we have to be careful if we're a bit stressed about it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I can get a bit impatient if things are not going well, but otherwise, yeah. So I would say I'm a pretty good listener. I'm fairly intuitive, but I can be impatient. There are things I have in my locker.
yeah. That did make me
It
laugh.
was a long answer, wasn't it? Very long answer.
Well, this is what the show is about. This is what the show is about. Now I know that you are a singer and a songwriter. Um, and once I think once in our conversation, you've let me know that you did a course in counseling skills or counseling anyway. Um, you know,
Yes, I did. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Does that come across in your conversation, your day-to-day conversations?
How do you mean in terms of if I'm talking to somebody and I might end up if I feel they need counselling or if I need counselling? What do you mean exactly?
Yeah, yeah. Like lawyers, you if you're talking to a
Yeah,
lawyer, even though you might be having just a casual conversation with a lawyer friend of yours,
yeah,
and you say something, and they'd be like, right, so are you saying it in it? They sort of put their law hat on, kind of.
yeah,
You find
yeah.
that in your songwriting and counseling, do you sort of all of a sudden you think, oh, that would make a good song, or that person, because you said you're intuitive, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you then find that you're having a conversation with somebody and you think, whoa, I wonder what he's going through. I better step in and that and try to help. Do you find that happens a lot, or
Yeah, I'm not sure that it gets into my songwriting. I mean, I've always said my songs tend to be almost always about a situation that I'm in or that I'm part of. Or they're always about somebody I know. Um, I suppose unusually, perhaps for a man, I've never had a problem talking about feelings.